What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Taking you guys on the road with me briefly during a break to talk about this fragrance right here, Vieri. Can we put a little, there we go. House of Mind Games. We are coming to a close. I think we have about 3 or 4 fragrances left out of like 25 fragrances we've tried from the line, maybe 20. I think it's 25 though. So I've been trying to be more intentional about changing up the scenery for you guys. It's a little stuff like that that just keeps things entertaining, and I never want you guys to predict the direction of the channel in terms of, really anything, content, topics, camera angles, where I'm going to shoot, how I'm going to shoot. Always want you guys to have the sense on this channel that I'm doing stuff, so and innovating and trying to entertain and not just kind of capitalize on one thing, especially early on in this channel growth. We're only at about 6,000 subs, which is amazing. But this early on in the journey, like, I really want the freedom to just explore all of the different ways to show you guys content and see what you guys gravitate towards the most, because this channel is driven by the community. So with that being said, we're going to look at Vieri, which is a unisex fragrance from the House of Mind Games. It has no classification, but per the bottle picture here, it looks like it features the notes of citron and musk. It'll have a lot more than that, but that seems to be the theme of Mind Games fragrances, is putting the top 2 most prominent notes in the fragrance. Retails for $400. Looks like the discounter prices have it bottoming at around $350. I've seen this fragrance as low as $200 to $250. If you know, you know. And it was given a rating of 3.89. We'll round that up to a 3.9. So not a 0.1 shy of gotta try it. For those of you who are new on this channel, I think if a fragrance on Fragrantica gets a 4 out of 5, it's a you must at least try it. And if it gets a 4.2 or 4.3 out of 5 or higher, that is a mass appeal. You'll probably like it type of score. And this is just shy of the gotta try it, but I'll give you my evaluation and see if I disagree or not. This fragrance came out in 2023, and though it has a lofty description, I'm going to ignore that because it looks like just poetry. Okay, let's give this a whirl. Worst atomizers in the stinking game. These little plastic on glass joints, they really got to step it up. 3 sprays on the wrist. I don't even think I have test strips in here. That sucks for me. Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. Skin's the most reliable, but sometimes I like to just let you guys know if there's a significant difference between test strip and skin, because if you find yourself trying this fragrance in a Neiman Marcus or Saks or something like that, a lot of times you'll only put it on test strip because you've been trying a bunch of fragrances. You may have a fragrance on, things like that. But so far, my experience with Mind Games is that well over 70% of their fragrances, you should put it on skin, because it is about a 30% difference in scent profile, smelling it on the test strip versus the skin. And this was really interesting. Citrus, musk heavy, but this citrus is very much, this is really tart. It's tart, sharp, brisk. It cuts. This is like, almost like if you guys remember back in the day when you were a kid, Lucas, these little like salt canisters, and they would have different flavor profiles. There was one called lemon and lime. And this smells like lemon and lime Lucas, with an emphasis on lime and a little bit sweeter rather than savory. It smelled kind of like Popolo Fico from Nishane in the opening, but it settled down quite quickly. But yeah, it's a very, so a lot of times when you have citruses, you get a lot of musk in citrus, but then the dry down is heavy musk. This one, the dry down feels, the citruses are really staying and they're really dominating the citrus. So it's like a 70-30, 70% being this robust, bright, tart, crisp, brisk, almost lime zest kind of citrus. It's got a lemon backbone because it does have that round kind of sweet tart body, but sweet tart is actually a good description of this, like a lime sweet tart, or like nerds or runts, but it's got that kind of brisk, sharp, and it's not candy synthetic, but it is a bit artificial. It's not like super photoreal bergamot or lime, but it's close. It hits similar to how a lot of the citruses from either Goldfield and Banks, you know, Pacific Rock Moss, Ingenious Ginger, stuff like that. But then it also kind of hits like Acqua di Parma style fragrances from the Colonia line. Yeah, it's a really nice, pleasant smell. It seems a bit fleeting. I'm actually going to reapply it while I look up some additional information for you guys. It looks like, as far as the notes, lemongrass up top, lemon as well, and pink pepper. I get a ton of that. That is what I get in a very kind of sweet tart, runts, Skittles kind of way, but it does feel very high quality. It doesn't feel designer at all. The middle notes is tea, red fruits, peony, and camellia, which is another pink floral. Very nice heart notes there. I'm loving that. And then the base is going to be musk, amberwood, and incense. There's nothing smoky or intimately smoky about this. I don't get the incense at all. I do get the amberwood musk combo. Like I said, it does feel very musky, but only about 30%. It doesn't have this dry down of like straight musk. The lemongrass lemon is really carried into the base of this fragrance via the tea and peony. You know, fragrances a lot of times are kind of like magic tricks, because, you know, the opening is the opening and the heart is the heart, and the dry down, you're mostly left with base and a fleeting percentage of top notes and heart notes. And not all top notes last the same longevity and project the same. They're all on a clock. They're all going down, and they're fleeting. Same with the heart notes. Same with the base notes, really. But citruses tend to be very fleeting. And thankfully, due to the lemongrass note, and I think the combination between tea and peony, they're transitioning the lemon to still feel illusionary, like it's still there. So they did a pretty good job with that. I'm pretty impressed. However, I will say I have applied it a second time on skin, kind of mid-review, and it does hit with the kind of projection that you would experience from the Goldfield and Banks line, mainly the citrus lines, the Pacific Rock Flower, the Rock Moss, the Ginger. It hits very light, eau de toilette-ish, maybe the tiniest bit more punchy than like an Ingenious Ginger. It's obviously brighter than Ingenious Ginger because it goes more lime than ginger. That lemongrass is a beautiful note though. Like, you would have to pack the sprays on this. And I feel like, I don't know if this is just perception. I mean, it's clearly just an opinion of mine, but I genuinely feel like people aren't really interested in buying a Mind Games freshie at the $400 price point, even the $300 price point. I mean, if you look at the amount of fragrances that hit very close to this, if not better or similar, that are under $150, there are thousands, even in the designer category, and especially in the niche category. You know, every Acqua di Parma fragrance in 200 ml composition is less than $200, even most of them less than $120. I get reminiscence of kind of Ingenious Ginger, or sorry, Bohemian Lime. I don't know why I said Ingenious Ginger earlier. But like Bohemian Lime, anything from Acqua di Parma, really. You know, you can get anything from there at a third of the cost of this and probably get a little bit more performance. So I just feel like when it comes to Mind Games, we're much more interested in things like the gourmands, the woodies, the boozies, the florals, the chocolate, you know, complexity, depth, and not really trying to get like a sporty, super expensive niche fragrance, because niche freshies are abundant. It is unique with the lemongrass and peony and tea as a composition. I really enjoy the smell, but I just think you would really have to press me to get a fragrance of this caliber in terms of smell profile, because it feels like, even if I said, yeah, I want it, sign me up, I don't see you getting more than 3 to 4 hours of performance. And I think I'm being gracious with that. The projection's about 2 feet. There's no sillage to a fragrance like this unless you layer it. And that's why a lot of people do layer Aqua de Parma fragrances and Byredo fragrances and Goldfield and Banks fragrances, because they're so fleeting that you have to put some base under them to get them to carry. Now, granted, being at the concentration they're at, they can cut through a lot of that spring, summer heat, but at what cost? You know, you don't want it to cut itself off. You know what I'm saying? So some usual suspects for this fragrance, and I'll just second my sentiments by saying the longevity score is moderate on both the sillage and the longevity. It does look pretty weak as far as the ratings. Highly compared to things like Under the Lemon Tree, Mason Margiela, Aqua Media Cologne Forte, the green bottle from MFK. It's not really like that, though. That's more of a fennel matcha kind of take. Moscow Mule from Juliet has a gun. Greenlee, Banana Republic's Metal Rain, that's fairly close. Ball de Freak, that's somewhat close. But this is its own character compared to all of those. But it's within 15 to 20% of the DNA of those reference points. So there's your alternatives. I think this is a spring-summer joint. Heavy elements would ruin this fragrance. Overall, as a scent profile, I give it an 8. It's well above average. Definitely not a 9. You've smelled many things not like this, but not exactly this, but like this for sure. I do appreciate the modern touch and the innovation of incorporating things like lemongrass and tea and various pink florals to kind of play with the whole citrus floral coastal composition. That is innovative, but at the cost of no performance is going to be an issue for most people for a Mind Games fragrance. And also, when you have a more robust projection style in your entire line, fragrances like these often get forgotten about, which is why it doesn't even have a gotta get your nose on it type score. I mean, when I look at Imagination and Greenlee and Ball de Freak, Absolute at least, not the original, I mean, shoot, you might even get more performance out of Metal Rain from Banana Republic, which is more like a Silver Mountain Water, but close enough to this. You know, if you put a lemongrass oil on your skin and throw on Banana Republic's Metal Rain at about 20 sprays, you'd be good. Sprays on this, I'm going 20 plus. I'm really nuking every inch of my body. I'm putting on an oil or a lotion to try and get this thing to carry. But overall, it's a really great smell. I do love it. The lemon grassiness kind of provides this Parfum de Marly Greenlee with splashes of lemongrass in it, but it's got this modern tart sweet candyishness that actually is photoreal and less synthetic. Really digging it. What else? Occasions, super casual. It's not really upscale casual. It's just fancy casual, fancy schmancy, fun in the sun casual. But you just got to pack the sprays on. Again, this was Mind Games' Vieri. And it's a great smell. Just wish they would have spent a little bit more time on the composition in terms of how it feels, because even the projection feels very weak. It's 120 degrees outside, but in my car, it's very cool and cold. And I would expect to at least get tons of projection in my car. And I'm having to go to my hand to even smell it. So that kind of just shows me that it kind of gets destroyed pretty easily and breaks down. But anyways, pretty interesting fragrance from the House of Mind Games. We're almost done with our selection. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. If you have any questions about a fragrance like this, let me know in the comments section below. And if you're new here, I cover all things fragrances from beginner to expert. I try to make in-depth dives that are concise and microwave content for you guys, so you can just run through them. Whatever you're searching for, I've got a review for it. We've also got some entertainment, house dives, things that apply to your fragrance journey. If you so choose to go deeper into it, I've got the next steps for you. And I think I do a pretty decent job of separating my bias from just great information to have. So I always kind of approach my channel with I want to do my best to live out my journey so that my journey looks like my journey and your journey looks like your journey. Fragrance is an incredible thing that ignites feeling and joy in so many different ways. It opens up the door for great conversations and socializing and community involvement and relationship building. it's really a blessing to anyone who wants to take it a step further. So I highly encourage you to do so. But until next time, I hope you guys stay blessed. This was Mind Games Vieri, and it wasn't bad. I just wish there was more. Peace.